What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today when I talk to you about SoundHound, I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what just was announced, and where I see things going from here. Before we get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, SoundHound did go up 6.15%, piggybacking off of the broader market. So pretty good stuff for that. I'm going to break it down on what really caused it to go up and everything else that you need to know. But today there was 18.8 million shares being traded, 27.2 is the average. Of the volume though, even though it was a little bit lower, majority was linked to institutions. So these are all the transactions occurring today on the secondary market above $100,000. Based on the bid, the ask, and the selling price, majority of the transactions did occur near the tail end of the day, and regrettably a lot of them were sales. So not the best. But what really caused, obviously, SoundHound and just the broader market to go higher was because of GDP coming out better than anticipated. So came in at 2.8 versus 2, the forecast. And then as well, initial jobless claims came in a little bit lower than anticipated. So in reality, very, very optimistic stuff. A lot of bears are starting to say that GDP is somewhat delayed because this is a quarter over quarter basis for Q2. So in essence, it's kind of old data, like I just said. So a lot of people are trying to discredit that. So once again, that's something. But when it comes to today, though, like I said, just institutions were largely selling. You had algorithmic trading being told to buy and propel a lot of stocks higher because of this data right here. So once again, that might be a good thing, bad thing. I'll leave it up to you guys to make that determination. But because of that positive data, now there is a 10.2% likelihood of a 50 basis point cut for the September 18th meeting. So I think it is fair to assume that at least there is going to be a 25 basis point cut for the September 18th meeting, regardless of the data coming out in the foreseeable future. On a side note, PCE is coming out tomorrow, so that no doubtably will probably make this scenario a little bit better. Again, best case scenario. And plus, if it does come in better than anticipated, anticipate similar to today, stocks just to go up like crazy. So something to keep in mind. But when it came down to SoundHound, you did see a little bit more of a struggle first thing. And so it did bounce off of a very strong support. And so SoundHound, SoundHound's technicals have been the saving grace in the past. I've been covering SoundHound on and off for probably 5-6 months now, and they go through their vicious downtrends, but time and time again it always bounces off of a very strong support and then trends higher. And so for today, it did bounce off of this S2, kind of momentarily broke below that, but it did in general bounce off of this S2. So once again, the technicals saved it. So the saving grace, we do know that is a very strong support. On the flip side, this S1, it kind of landed for the most part here at the end of the day. It did have a high of $4.98 though. So I think all in all, pretty interesting stuff, kind of just trading within a set range. I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on that in a second. But one thing that they did announce yesterday was this. So their Q2 earnings. So it is going to be slated for August the 8th. And so I can live stream that if you want. It looks like it's going to be at 2 p.m. Pacific. And so yeah, if you want to receive notifications or anything like that, kind of has all the notes right here. But as far as some expectations, analysts of course could change it from now until then. But right now there is roughly 9 cents or negative 9 cents as the earnings per share estimate, and then 13.09 million for revenue. Over the last 90 days, there's been 1 positive revision from analysts and 3 negatives. Then looking at the quarterly estimates, so based on that 9 cents or negative 9 cents, that does represent a 13.33% year-over-year growth, and that is done by 6 analysts. And then looking at revenue, 49.64% year-over-year growth, and then that's based on 7 analysts. So I did a video on how their upcoming earnings, we didn't know the date at that stage, but obviously this is a very big catalyst because in essence, if their Q2 earnings come in better than anticipated, then all these kind of ratings right here will be dominoed, multiplied like crazy. So in turn, that will just magnify the stock price so much more. So yeah, I think SoundHound is a very, very unique circumstance. At the same time, it is still very heavily shorted. 25.78% of the free float is being shorted. That that works out to be 75.18 million shares overall are being shorted. Shorts did increase 1 million shares today. So on a daily basis, I have multiple different YouTube channels. I cover a lot of different stocks. A lot of them are heavily shorted. And in many of the cases today, shorts were kind of stagnant, if not returning. SoundHound seems to be the only one where shorts actually did increase their position, at least million shares at least. So yeah, it's a unique circumstance. Even looking right over here, shorts were kind of looking like they were starting to return and break down the trend right here, but they started to really double down. So it's a very, very interesting scenario. All-time high short interest on SoundHound. It looks like it is around 25.8%. So very close to that. So who knows about tomorrow? Maybe there'll be all-time high short interest numbers once again for SoundHound. We'll just have to wait and see. But looking at the options though, 681,000 in calls, 678,000 in puts. So the dollar value is relatively low for that, kind of matching the common stock, so the lower volume today. 57% of all the options being done today were optimistic and bullish, and based on this, it looks like there's a consensus for it to be above roughly around 550, so kind of optimistic for that. And then looking at puts, you do see a consensus for it to be sub 450, so a little bit more upside is anticipated. This is the open interest, so just take note of this. In reality, I think the dollar value is kind of low for this week. August 16th might be a very interesting week. So that chain right there is a monthly chain. So if SoundHound is able to close above $5, obviously by close of business day, August the 16th, then this is where you could see a little bit more of a gamma squeeze. So we'll just have to wait and see for that. But as of right now, going into tomorrow, just watch for this S1 to hold, and then $5.41 is going to be a very strong pivot for SoundHound. So that is going to be the next strong resistance slash target. But on the actual chart itself, today it was really wanting to transition into the higher percentile. So it has a lot of key resistance levels, so I'll just move that over so you guys can see it. So it has a lot of heavy resistance above it, so it has the 50 kind of flirting with that right now, that transition point, and also the 100-day moving average. So definitely will need a nice push going into tomorrow, and not necessarily having institutions sell. But again, if PCE is positive, then you'll still have, similar to today, algorithmic trading really propelling stocks such as SoundHound higher. You do see on stochastic that it is roughly around 33, so that is arguably considered oversold. You also have a bearish deviation, so red line above the white. Number of retail investors haven't really been doing all that much today, so if anything, they were kind of returning a small amount, maybe locking in profits or whatever else. So let me know your thoughts on SoundHound. Like I said, I think leading up to today, the trend was kind of set in stone. It looks like it was just completely trending down. Shorts were in full control. So luckily enough that GDP came out how it did. So hopefully PCE will be the exact same, because when it comes to SoundHound, this was more of a staring off of a virtual cliff. So if this 442 does fail to hold, then this is where you'll see kind of it trading between this S3 and this S2, so the $3 once again. So let me know your thoughts. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with SoundHound? And have you been doing options? And if so, have you been buying call options, selling? What have you been doing? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And one final thing, take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So this is a kick-ass deal. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, I appreciate all of you watching.